TimeSplitters 2 is a first-person shooter video game developed by Free Radical Design and published by Eidos Interactive for the PlayStation 2, Gamecube, and Xbox game consoles. It was released October 11th in 2002. It's the second game in the TimeSplitters series and the first one to be cross-platform. The first game was exclusive to the PlayStation 2. One thing that sets this game apart from other first-person shooter titles is that you play throughout different time periods from the Wild West to the 25th century, and it's really cool. The main story consists of 10 levels that take place in different time periods. Now, this is my favorite part. The story mode can be played in couch co-op. I love co-op story games so much, and this one does it perfectly by lowering the health to balance the game out. Along with the story, there are two single-player modes, an arcade and a challenge mode, where a player is given a scenario and must complete it within certain requirements. There is also a multiplayer mode for up to 4 players on a single game system, where you would need a multi-tap for the PlayStation 2. And it's up to 16 players with system linking, but the Gamecube sadly cannot do this feature, as it was reported Nintendo wouldn't give Free Radical the required information needed to pull off the system link for the Gamecube. A lot of people have said TimeSplitters plays a bit like 007 GoldenEye, and there is a good reason to that. 15 months before the release of Perfect Dark, several members of Rare that were part of the GoldenEye 007 development team left to form their own company called Free Radical Design, the creators of this game. In October 2012 interview, Free Radical co-founder Steve Ellis said, "We had an HD downloadable version of TimeSplitters 2 in development at Free Radical in 2008, but I don't know what happened to that, but yes, I'd love to see it released at some point." Well, we are all still waiting, Mr. Ellis. There is a game called Homefront: The Revolution that was on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. Within that game, there's a secret arcade cabinet that will let you play the first 2 levels of TimeSplitters 2 in HD. A welcome surprise to the fans. The reviews for the game are really good, and I mean really good. My TimeSplitters 2 is installed on my PlayStation 2 hard drive, and I used physical discs for the Xbox and Gamecube, so I'm going to be using an old IGN article to reference the loading times. This is what they said. As usual, the PlayStation 2 takes longer to load. It's very noticeable compared to the other versions. For example, just loading up the main menu takes nearly 20 seconds from boot up on the PlayStation 2, whereas it's more like 5 to 6 seconds on the Gamecube and Xbox. It's a similar pattern for loading levels. The frame rate is the same across the board, 60 frames per second, and it's amazing that they could do this for all 3 consoles. Kudos to them. But wait, if you enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button and like this video. The more views I get per video means more side-by-sides and more content from me. And thanks again for being awesome fans. Now back to the graphics. Now it's time for the comparison. Looking at the gun, you can see that the PS2 is sharper than the Wii, but has a lot more aliasing, which to me is the worst thing. Me and Jaggies just don't get along. Then we see the face. What I like about the Xbox version is that it really does look like he's wearing a glass visor, whereas on the PlayStation 2 and the Cube, it looks like it's missing. So take note of the bottom of the spaceship. You see all these squares? When it gets further away, you can only see them still on the PlayStation 2. Here is a close-up shot of the lady's face. The Xbox is a bit darker, the PS2 is very crisp, just more aliasing like before. On this shot, I wanted to point out the lines on the floor. On the Gamecube, you can see it go down here. On the PS2, you can also, but it's very broken up, and on the Xbox, it's just missing altogether. Then on the next scene, I noticed the Xbox has these 2 red lines coming off the circle, where on the other 2 consoles they're missing. Also, the chick is clearly more visible on the PS2. Another red line that's missing on the PlayStation 2 and Gamecube. Nothing exciting, but there are blue lines going all the way up the wall here, but only about 30% up the wall on these 2. This explosion looks best on the Xbox, well, at least to me. Now I will bring in the PS2 game emulated on PCSX2 and Gamecube emulated on the Dolphin emulator. But the Gamecube version, I downloaded a fan-made HD texture pack which makes the game look freaking amazing. If I zoom in a lot on his jacket, you can see that the HD textures looks really great. You can see all the fiber detail. On this scene, you can see the PS2 does have the worst aliasing. You can really tell when looking at this tree. However, if we zoom in on this building, the PlayStation 2 shows more detail on the building versus the Xbox and the Cube. But what was most surprising to me was the chain-linked fence detail here, and it's completely missing on the Xbox. Hell, even the Gamecube shows the fence a bit. Look how nice the snow looks on the Dolphin. One thing the HD Dolphin version does worse is the map. The lines are not very good. The steam from the vent looks best on PS2 and Gamecube in my opinion. Also, not a fan of this retexture. I think the original wood looked better. Back to the HD Dolphin version, it's missing the brightness from the lights in the tunnel. There's a secret in the game called Homefront Revolution, which I talked about earlier, where you can play 2 levels from TimeSplitters 2, so let's bring that into the mix. Judging by this screenshot, I'd have to say that it's a port from the original Xbox game, as the color and darkness are exactly the same. We can also see the increased sharpness and better anti-aliasing due to this port being played on 8th gen consoles. When we get back to this spot, the home front has the fence showing the fence links. I still believe it's an Xbox port, but just turned up to 11. The alien's new texture looks awesome here, and upon further inspection, the Xbox has this white line and no other version has it, so maybe the home front isn't a port of the Xbox. In this scene, the home front port flashes bright blue on the wall and none of the others do, and the original Xbox has blue lines on the floor and once again, none of the others do. Again with the goddamn lines, Xbox really likes those lines. Also, the PS2 is very jaggy in this shot. On Homefront, the background flashes different colors, and then this energy beam hits the wall and makes the blue super bright. For some reason on the Xbox, the explosion is very small. If we move it over here, we see that it doesn't even get past the tunnel exit. Xbox vs PS2 time, because I like it like that. Stay tuned though, it gets pretty confusing. We first see bad aliasing on the PS2. But if I slide back the Xbox footage, you see more overall detail on the PlayStation 2 sidewalk and street. Again, more aliasing on the PlayStation. But if we do the sliding trick, the PS2 does seem to look nicer overall. Going side by side though, I think I do prefer the Xbox. But here, look at those far buildings on the PS2, so wavy. Gamecube is a little wavy too, but not as bad. The PS2 overall does seem to be the sharpest of the 3, but suffers from the most aliasing. The Xbox has the best anti-aliasing, but is overall a little bit darker. The Gamecube is a nice balance of the 2. All 3 versions play at 60 frames and are all great to look at. I can't really say which one to play as there isn't a wrong pick. With that being said, that's all I have for you today and thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share this video, leave a comment, hit the like button. Thanks again and take it easy.